It's actually been over 3 years since I did my top 10 favorite Pokemon video. That's absolutely insane. And now I understand why I get so many comments for people asking me what my favorite Pokemon are, because that video is buried in like the cringe part of my channel years ago, and there's been a new generation since. So the 7th generation does open up a lot more favorite Pokemon opportunities. Time also changes opinions and whatnot, so let's go and do a revamp top 10 favorite Pokemon. Now there's going to be 2 versions to this video. This is going to be the quick version. This is going to be me kind of listing off and giving quick reasons why, but a lot of the Pokemon on this list have a story behind them, so I'm going to do an extended version. That the first time I did this, I made it 10 minutes in, I was only at number 8 on the list, so yeah, I don't want to have like a 30-minute video if I'm just going to be like, here's my top 10 if you want to know it. So this is more knowledge-based of my favorite Pokemon things, so let's get right into it. Favorite Pokemon game, Soul Silver, that this is just Pokemon perfected. That I love Johto. Johto's my favorite region, Silver's my favorite rival, and Lugia is in my top favorite Pokemon as well. So as an experience, Pokemon following you, everything just went right. My favorite typing is the Ghost typing, mostly because the idea of Ghost, like, it's not as tangible in the real world as it is in Pokemon, so it adds that fascination factor. Halloween is my favorite holiday, so you're just kind of like, Ghosts are cool. You know, it's this mischievous, cool kind of feeling behind them, so I really appreciate Ghost type Pokemon. Also, I want to do some honorable mentions. Mega Sableye would have been on this list if I did it back in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but then the 7th generation, Mega Sableye got double nerfed and like maybe even triple nerfed. I don't know. Mega Sableye just got destroyed, and it upsets me. So by not using as much, like Sableye was my main go-to Pokemon, now that I don't use it as much, it kind of fell out of the list, so it's like a close 11th place. And also Alolan Marowak. I wanted to have more 7th generation Pokemon on the list, but either the nostalgia factor or just some of the older designs mean a bit more to me. But this is definitely one of the best designed Pokemon out there. That we have a Fire Poi Pokemon that calls back to the 1st generation with the Marowak Ghost, and it has a great color scheme and a cool design, so it's an absolutely awesome Pokemon. And then we do have an In Memoriam. We have it to where Aegislash is not on the list anymore. Kind of similar to the Sableye, that I was kind of looking over the list, I was kind of reshuffling the positions, and I realized I don't want it to be completely competitive, and most of my love for Aegislash just came from competitive mastery. That Aegislash mechanics were kind of the hype, and if you play Aegislash perfectly, it's very hard to take you down. And I started getting like bored with that, so you know, it wasn't as much, I love the design, I love the idea of Aegislash, like, this Pokemon's just a boss in competitive play. So, now let's get onto the list. So, number 10 on the list is going to be the Porygon evolutionary line. That it was just kind of like a crazy new idea, that we were in the late 90s, and suddenly we have a cyberspace Pokemon that's doing cyber things, and it's very exclusive, that you really have to earn a Porygon back in the 1st generation. So I went, I actually played the slots, I grinded up, and I felt like I really earned this Porygon, which was super awesome. Then the 2nd generation, I was able to get, you know, Technoduck. I got the upgrade, I figured out that you can use it on the Porygon, I traded with friends, I had them trade back, and I had like a legit 2nd generation Porygon, and that just lit me up as a child. I was like, this is one of the coolest things ever. So I thought that kept going, and then into Porygon Z, 4th generation, surprised everyone with all these extra evolutions, and Porygon Z fit right in. I still had the same fascination with how strange these Pokemon are, and how they just kind of flow into one good evolutionary chain. That slowly Porygon goes from this geometric, sharp, polygonal Pokemon into something more smooth and refined, and Porygon 2 and Porygon Z are both usable competitively, so they stay on the radar really well, and yes, I do own that Porygon Z plush on screen. Number 9 on the list is going to be Rotom. So, I actually was a huge fan of Rotom before all of its forms came out. That, again, you had to kind of earn Rotom, that you had to go through the old chateau, so I was in a haunted house looking for ghost Pokemon, and then an electric ghost jumps out of a TV. As a kid, that means you're going to love that Pokemon forever, at least for me. So the idea of Rotom was pretty cool. The event behind it kind of made it a little bit more special, and I had to get all of the Rotom cards. So this was around the time I was getting back into Pokemon TCG, and the Rotom cards were pretty nice. That's like, yo, I have all the forms. How cool is that? And they had like the special holographic versions of them that did like the more polygonal refractive holographs instead of just like the shiny color. So it was a step up. I was like, yo, I need to collect these. This is a cool Pokemon. And then Yokon and Rotom came out. So this is going to be the extended version of this story. Is going to be on the second part of this. But Yokon and Rotom, I stayed up all night. I had to watch this show because I wanted to see Rotom in the anime that bad. I made a failed attempt at Yokon and I got more into like Japanese culture and Japanese Pokemon culture just because of translations and Rotom. Now, interestingly enough, Rotom Dex doesn't really change my thoughts on Rotom. Like, at first I was hype about it, and I do like Rotom Dex's personality, but it kind of became like the side character and didn't really make me think, yo, this is one of the coolest upgrades of Rotom. I actually think it's a little bit out of place, but still kind of works, and Pokefinder is pretty hype. Okay, number 8 on the list is Pumpkaboo, because pumpkins are my life. I will go on like a 5-minute pumpkin ramble in the other video because I just love pumpkins that much. We have Halloween being my favorite holiday, we have autumn being my favorite season, we have pumpkin being my favorite food besides sushi. Okay, like ingredient. Pumpkin is my favorite ingredient, sushi is my favorite food. So that's kind of where we stand right now. I love pumpkin pie about as much as anything besides sushi. Pumpkins are amazing, autumn is cool, it's like a whole nostalgic, whimsical feel, and then there's the pumpkin Pokemon. It deeply upsets me that there isn't more to Pumpkaboo. It's also like found on Route 16, which is like the most autumn route in Pokemon, and it just feels like the whole experience behind Pumpkaboo is really nice in general. So I kind of like it. And then we have like a Halloween Pokemon that knows a trick-or-treat thing. It's a black little spirit, kind of cat-ish looking thing, not real. It's just kind of like the idea of Halloween. You think, what would Halloween look like as a Pokemon if it had a pumpkin? And then you get Pumpkaboo and you think, yes, that's exactly it. Now, number 7 on the list is going to be Klefki, which might be a big surprise to people, even myself right now. But Klefki, I think I kind of got caught up in the 6th generation hype. Like, Klefki's new, it's awesome, and honestly, it was love at first sight. Now, I first saw the teaser for Klefki, this was before I was doing YouTube. I was still, like, all in for the news. I knew about Korokoro, I knew about Cerebi, I just wanted this Pokemon the second I saw it. I was like, yo, we have like a spectral keyring. Even as a fairy type Pokemon, like this is like spectral keyring level stuff, has a prankster ability, it absolutely tears people apart, and it technically helped jumpstart my channel. That keyring OP was the first video on my channel that really took off, because that's actually, wow, actually now that I think about it, it's like Klefki started my YouTube channel, so maybe I'll go a bit more like on this in depth. But I saw that, I was like, I will make it work. I've always had the philosophy of like, you know, play the Pokemon you want, have as much fun as you can while playing Pokemon. And when I saw Klefki, I was like, I will make you work, and I will make you the greatest Pokemon ever, and you will be on my team. So, you know, I kind of had that, and then that kind of snowballed into YouTube and everything else because of it. But now, as we get into 7th generation, Prankster got some nerfs. Klefki doesn't feel as impactful with like all these Z moves and all these Mega Pokemon running around, but still an amazing Pokemon. I still have like a Klefki keychain, and I still try to get as much Klefki merch as I can. But then looking at the rest of the list, I feel like there's a bit more symbolic reasoning behind it. I'm just like, Klefki was cool. I'm out of the honeymoon phase for Klefki, but it's still in my top 10 favorites because it's an awesome Pokemon. Like, Calm Mind, Drain, and Kiss, OP, GG, use Prankster and win. Number 6 on the list is going to be Snorlax. So, Snorlax, it's another one that I had to kind of rethink on the list because I really started to only care about Snorlax in the Sinnoh region for the 4th generation, why I really got into competitive, because Stockpile Snorlax, I was on the cutting edge. I was the one that like discovered Stockpile Snorlax and Belly Drum, Chesto, Resto into a damaging move, and then no one could beat me back then. So Snorlax just kind of became my signature Pokemon, and I don't want to put too much weight on that. Like, yeah, me and Snorlax, we're bros, we're tied together, and that is my Pokemon from way back in the day that I would just become unstoppable with. That much how Klefki kickstarted my YouTube, Snorlax kickstarted my competitive play. That's why it became my mascot. I was like, wait a second, I don't have to just run like all 4 offensive moves and just try to body people with some crazy strong Pokemon or whatever seems scary at the moment. That I saw this Pokemon, like, not too many people are running it, and there's a new moveset that I could try out, and then I started playing setup. So it defined me as a battler, it defined me as understanding competitive. This is why I wanted to start EV training, this is why I wanted to start IV breeding, and this is why I wanted to become the best like no one ever was. So Snorlax kind of started all of that, and then it just stayed with me. So yeah, one of my favorite Pokemon because of that. But then we go into number 5, Drifblim. That Drifblim is in the same boat as Snorlax, that it tuned my competitive play, and that it also got me like understanding more things about Pokemon. That when I realized how broken Stockpile is in Snorlax, I went to Bulbapedia, I looked up all the Pokemon that get Stockpile, I found Drifblim, I found Minimized Baton Pass, and then the most unbeatable strategy of the 4th generation was born right there, and even into the 5th generation. So because of that, like, I loved playing with these Pokemon. And then the reason why Drifblim is ranked lower or higher or whatever, you know, it's 5th and Snorlax is 6th, is because I like Drifblim's design more. I'm not like a huge, oh my god, Snorlax looks like the coolest Pokemon, but Drifblim it's an awesome design. Like, we have this Death Balloon ghost Pokemon that wants to drag you into the underworld, and it's also ghost type, so extra points right there. And even back, like, in Diamond Pearl, like, it was an event, or, you know, I had to go a special time to catch Drifblim, and then Drifblim just kind of came from that. I was like, yo, this is a really cool and dynamic Pokemon, so kind of working with that experience about the 4th generation. And then I even used it in my TCG deck because Drifblim with delivery and lifting was like one of the most fun things to use ever. So I tried to like incorporate a ghost type deck, and I had Drifblim being one of the cores for that. And then, you know, we just have super unstoppable competitive Drifblim, minimize, stockpile, baton pass, and 4th move. In doubles, it's Astonish. In singles, it could be Amnesia. I don't know. I just run all kinds of crazy things, and Drifblim turns out to be a very fun Pokemon to use. So it tilts people like no other. I like the design, and it's also helped shaped me as a battler. So Drifblim is just a very special Pokemon to me, and number 5 on the list. Number 4 is going to be Dunsparce. There's two kinds of people. People that think Dunsparce is cute and adorable, and people that are wrong. And that's pretty much my philosophy about Dunsparce, that it's the underdog Pokemon. You want to root for Dunsparce's inner strength, that it tries so hard as like this land snake, and you know it has potential. I've wanted an evolution for Dunsparce since the 2nd generation. In the 6th generation, I wanted it to get Megas. In the 7th, I'm like, yo, has to get a Mega now. Dunsparce is getting like the ultimate upgrade, and it will be the most loved and appreciated Pokemon. And even going like into the competitive stuff, that Snorlax and Drifblim, my appreciation for them kind of grew from the competitive side, that my discovery came through competitive. Dunsparce was the other way around. I always liked Dunsparce. Like, it just has that adorable little design that you want to work so bad. So that's why I was like, you know what? I will create the strategy. I will make it where Dunsparce will destroy opponents. That Dunsparce also helped craft my way of playing Pokemon, that I will unlock a Pokemon's inner strength to the fullest potential. Even a Dunsparce will be good under my Pokemon training, and I made it happen with like the undefeated Dunsparce at regionals, that I took it to the next level. That Dunsparce of all Pokemon improved my confidence as a battler. It improved my skill to try to pump as many stats to make it unstoppable. I mean, it has Serene Grace, Rock Slide. It can 60% flinch both opponents. That is one of the most absurd powerful things, but much like Dunsparce, the power is gated, that there's something holding it back. But if you can unleash its power, then it just becomes a terrifying Pokemon of utmost respect, because that's what it needed to have all along. So Dunsparce, one day will get like its normal Dragon Super Evolution Mega or something, but until then, I still love it. And then we get to the top 3. So the top 3, again, is going to be like more extended in the ramble, but really it's just kind of tied between Mimikyu, Typhlosion, and Lugia at this point. Mimikyu just like bursted into the scene and into my heart at the same time, that when I saw this twisted dead Pikachu thing that's being controlled by a ghost fairy Pokemon, yeah, that's kind of one of the most hype, insane things ever that Pokemon has done. And for the 7th generation, that sold me on Pokemon Sun and Moon right there. I didn't care about anything else. The rest of the designs Pokemon Sun and Moon, also pretty fantastic, but Mimikyu, as the story grew, as more was discovered about this Pokemon, it was absolutely insane. Typhlosion is like kind of tied, not really, but kind of tied with Lugia as well, because whenever someone asks you, hey, what's your favorite Pokemon, and you respond with a legendary, it kind of feels bad, you know? You're going to get a sigh, or they're going to give you a disgruntled look. It just feels a little awkward when someone's like, hey, my favorite Pokemon's Rayquaza, or Mewtwo, or Deoxys, or something like that, you know? It's like, oh, of course you go to the legendary Pokemon because they're supposed to be cool, but Typhlosion is like what got me to Lugia. Typhlosion is the bro that I went on adventures with, and that was like, that's where it happened. So best starter right there on the Typhlosion, and even like Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil's adorable, but Lava, like, kind of, I think the evolutionary line takes the really good path from like the adorable starter Pokemon to something that you know has potential, and then going into like the Volcano Fire Badger of Typhlosion, which is pretty awesome. And then we have Lugia. I don't know when or how it happened, but all of a sudden it's like, I saw it in game, I saw the Pokemon 2000, I was like, this is my favorite Pokemon, nothing's going to stop me, I love it more than anything. I started getting all the cards, toys, plushes. I've made like 4 Lugia costumes, because I was just like, Lugia is the bro. That's my new best friend right now, and that's an awesome Pokemon to have. So, like I said, I'll go a bit more in depth on that, just on about like Lugia, Mimikyu, and Typhlosion, but just for simplicity's sake, because I've done like 10 videos on Mimikyu. I had a custom Mimikyu plush commissioned for me, so I'm kind of obsessed with Mimikyu, but I'm also obsessed with Lugia, and then Typhlosion is just like that has always been there as well, since the beginning of Johto, which is my favorite region. So it kind of all ties together and gets pretty crazy from there. Anyway, still actually really long on this video, and like I said, there's going to be an extended version, so get ready for that as I go even more detail on the stories behind my favorite Pokemon. But if you kind of want the quick-ish list, there you go. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.